Welcome into the show today. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your day. While you're here, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube or listening somewhere else. Thank you for going on this podcasting journey with me. Right now, we're in the middle of April, and as far as Minnesota Vikings talk, the draft is almost a week away, and that's been a discussion for a long time about who the Vikings are going to draft and what they're looking for and are they going to trade down. But recently, a man sent by God, Albert Breer of SI, Monday Morning Quarterback. He does a lot of different things. Senior NFL lead reporter, content strategist, NFL on Prime Insider, the Monday Morning Quarterback, does a lot of different stuff. He talked with Kevin O'Connell and had a discussion with him about the strides from J.J. McCarthy, and we're going to talk about that today. Thank you for tuning in. But first, what I need to tell you about is 5 Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. 5 Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis completely remodeled my wife and I's bathroom in 48 hours. It did not take 6 weeks. It was not some unaffordable plan. They took our moldy, disgusting bathroom, remodeled it in 48 hours, and immediately increased the value of our home. And it is the perfect bathroom for us and for you. Check out these videos. This is what it used to look like. Ugly step, moldy shower, nasty colors, embarrassing bathroom, one sink, ugly vanity, outdated, handrails everywhere that we don't need. And voila. New flooring, new bathtub, new shower, new surround, new vanity, double sinks, modern, updated, and it increased the value of our home. This is the investment that you must invest in if you want an updated bathroom. We didn't have to cram downstairs for 6 weeks into our teeny tiny bathroom, getting ready for work and doing different things like that. This bathroom was done in 48 hours, and we were in there in 72 hours, getting ready, doing our morning routine. 5 Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis will get the job done right and convenient for you. Check them out today. Okay, so what did Albert Breer have to say? The Purple Persuasion, I love them, on X. They do a phenomenal job finding stories like this and posting them to their X account so that people like me can easily find them. I don't have to read the entire articles, although I did. And this was the big excerpt from Albert Breer's article on the Monday Morning Quarterback via SI Now. It says this: and once the season was over, the Vikings were upended by the Rams in the wild card round. McCarthy knew the stakes. Per O'Connell, on his own, McCarthy's been in the building almost every day since the season ended. His weight is close to where it was on the day Minnesota worked him out privately in Ann Arbor last spring. He's moving well. He's been throwing a few days a week. If things were knocked off course a bit in the fall, McCarthy's done what he's needed to through the offseason to get him back on track. None of what I just read is the least bit surprising, because McCarthy lives and breathes football. In my personal opinion, he lives and breathes football too much. If I was a random dude reading this, I would say that football is a major part of McCarthy's identity. And that's not a good thing. Because in my opinion, our identity should be in Christ, in Jesus Christ, and not in a sport or a job or whatever the case may be. But besides that, McCarthy loves the game. And he is a football junkie. That's what he is. That's what he's proven himself to be. And the article continued, and it talked about the Minnesota Vikings' pursuit of Aaron Rodgers. And it said that the Vikings are going to bet big on McCarthy, and O'Connell expects McCarthy to perform well this spring when he's actually able to play on the grass. But this all goes back to the conversation the Minnesota Vikings had with other quarterbacks this offseason. Because I look at it two different ways. One way I look at it is, how much did the Vikings trust McCarthy when they offered Sam Darnold, when they offered Daniel Jones, and then rescinded that offer when they knew he was signing with the Colts, and then entertained the idea of signing Aaron Rodgers? There were three different quarterbacks that could potentially start next season that the Minnesota Vikings discussed and offered bringing back to Minnesota. When I look at it like that, I see a team that doesn't fully trust McCarthy. I see a team that doesn't completely know how proven McCarthy is. And why should they? Because he hasn't played a single meaningful NFL snap. And then I look at things the different way. I look at things the other way. They lowballed Sam Darnold, an offer that he would never, ever take, when an offer like Seattle was sitting out there. Daniel Jones wanted a better opportunity to start in Indianapolis, competing against Anthony Richardson. They entertained the idea of Aaron Rodgers, but never formally offered him a contract extension or a contract. To some degree, it is the Minnesota Vikings' job to entertain and discuss other quarterback options, like Darnold, like Jones, like Rodgers. So I get it that it's their job to think about and even maybe offer different quarterbacks opportunities to come back to Minnesota and compete for the starting job. But then I look at it the other way. They entertained all these deals. They entertained the idea of bringing in three separate quarterbacks, but then ultimately decided to bet big on the hope of J.J. McCarthy. Because Rodgers wanted to be a Minnesota Viking. He wanted to follow in Brett Favre's footsteps. And the Minnesota Vikings turned down a player that's won multiple MVPs throughout his NFL career, which should show a lot of encouraging signs about McCarthy. But I also look at things from McCarthy's standpoint. And I look at it like this. The Minnesota Vikings entertained these quarterback deals, which kind of points to the fact of, okay, we don't fully trust you yet. If you were a dude and you were dating a girl for a long time and you wanted to propose to her, bow down on a knee, ask her to marry you, And she says, well, I kind of like you. I like you a lot. I love you. But I want to entertain some deals from some other people first just to see what they have to offer. I'm not fully invested yet. I want to see and have a discussion with them to see, okay, like, let's talk about it a little bit. How's that going to make you feel? That's not going to make you feel too good. To think about her thinking about other guys, other quarterbacks, other leaders that might lead her better or bring home a better paycheck. And then she meets with these other dudes, has a little fling, has a long week to 2 week discussion with them and their family about what they could provide, what they could bring to the table. And then comes back to you and says, yeah, I want to marry you. One, that kind of makes you feel good that she chose you over the others. But two, the fact that she had to have the conversation about not potentially marrying you and having a discussion with other guys, that can't make you feel too good either. So I think that's where McCarthy's at. The Vikings chose McCarthy over Darnold, Jones, and an MVP in Aaron Rodgers, which must make him feel good that he was their number one option. But what also might not make him feel too good is the fact that they had to have long discussions about bringing in one of these quarterbacks. Does that make sense to you? Because it does to me in my crazy mind. But there's nothing surprising or discouraging about this report from Albert Breer. Because McCarthy loves the game of football. Maybe a little bit too much. And there's this idea that we love McCarthy, that the fans love McCarthy, that we love players on the Minnesota Vikings. And the truth of the matter is, fans don't love athletes. You think that you love Anthony Edwards. You think that you love Justin Jefferson. You think that you love J.J. McCarthy, but that's not true. The truth is, you love what they provide your favorite sports team. Example, if Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings were in the Super Bowl, and Jefferson was wide open in the end zone and dropped the game-winning Super Bowl touchdown, are you still going to pretend that you love Justin Jefferson? Heck no. You are going to criticize the best receiver in football until the day he dies. And you are going to remember him as a choke artist that could not haul an easy pass from McCarthy to win the game. You don't love Anthony Edwards for Anthony Edwards. You love Anthony Edwards because he can put up 43 points on any given NBA night. As soon as he plays poorly, or if he plays poorly against the Lakers, you're going to criticize him and say, you know what, you're just not good enough. You're not LeBron. You're not Luka. So I see people that are attached to McCarthy and how much they love him. You don't love McCarthy. If he goes out and throws 3 picks a game, you're going to quickly say he's a bust and he stinks. And let's get somebody else in here. I knew he wasn't going to be good. I knew he was carried at Michigan. I knew that it wasn't about him. It was about the Michigan Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh and the squad around him. I knew we should have brought in Aaron Rodgers. So don't pretend that you love McCarthy. You can love what McCarthy produces for your favorite football team, but don't pretend that you love McCarthy. Okay, that was just a quick rant, side note that it really had nothing to do with anything, but just something that I wanted to share. Judd Zulgad, Score North, Purple Daily, goes on with Declan on his Twins show. He was at the Twins game last night, the Minnesota Twins game. Minnesota has a baseball team, in case you didn't know. And they're not very good. They suck, which was fully expected before the season began. The announced attendance was 10,000 240 on Monday night's baseball game. It was a cold game, cold night, freezing day, highly windy. And Aaron Gleeman says that's the lowest announced attendance in the history of Target Field, aside from COVID impacted seasons. And Judd took photos of what the game looked like in the 9th inning versus the New York Mets. And the pictures are embarrassing, to say the least. Look at this. If you're watching on YouTube, look at this. I'll describe it best to my listening audience. There is nobody there. Nobody. It looks like a minor league AA baseball game. In right field, you can count the number of people on one hand. In left field, you can count the amount of people in the top section on two fingers. The Minnesota Twins right now are an embarrassment to Minnesota sports. They are the worst professional sports team right now. And they have players that can allegedly play. Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, hurt again. And they stink. And what more were we supposed to expect? And how can the owners be loving this? A report just came out a few weeks ago that the owners are about $500 million in debt. And that's the product they're putting on the field. And that's the attendance that they are getting. Things are only looking worse for the Minnesota Twins ownership group right now. Because if you're trying to sell a franchise and get top dollar, and then investors that want to buy professional sports teams see this amount of support from the fan base, regardless of how cold it is, they're going to lowball you. And they are going to not give you an offer that you want, because this is what I'm investing in. The announced attendance was 10,240. But that does not reflect how many people are actually at the game, right? Because some people buy tickets and don't actually go. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they just decided to watch at the bar instead. I'd be curious to see what you could get on StubHub for a Minnesota Twins ticket right now. Because who would want to go to a Twins game? Who would want to support the owners that are currently controlling the Minnesota Twins? April 15th, the Twins play the Mets again at 6:40. How many tickets do you want? 2. Section 315, right behind home plate, upper deck. You're looking at a $10 a piece ticket on StubHub. Right behind the dugout. This is a hot ticket. There's one ticket, section 6, row 9. You're talking about like right above the dugout. Like, I see a picture on StubHub. I can share the screen with you. I want to share the screen. Take a look at this. Take a look at this seat. Boom. Perfect spot. $56 for that ticket. Right behind home plate. A few rows behind home plate. Section 113. There's a ticket selling for $39. People can't even give away their Minnesota Twins tickets. The fact that there's a ticket there for $39 when if the team was good, that ticket would cost hundreds. Things are not good for the Minnesota Twins. Things are not looking good for the ownership group. Because if you're trying to sell a baseball team for top dollar and the investors see pictures of this, that's not good. It's not good at all. And things are not looking like they're going to get any better or easier. So you would get what you invest, I guess. And the unfortunate part is that the Twins have invested in Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton and will eventually have to invest in Royce Lewis. They've invested in some guys, but haven't invested in any pitching, the most important part of the game. And the part that they invested in isn't producing anything. Byron Buxton's having a terrible season. Carlos Correa ain't doing much better. And Royce Lewis is hurt again. So the big investments that the Minnesota Twins made in their players, they're seeing no reward. This is as bad as it could get for the Twins ownership group. Because who wants to buy this team for the money that they're trying to sell it? Nobody. And Rocco Baldelli is going to get blamed, and he's going to get the finger pointed at him because the finger always points to the head coach after the ownership group. But it's like, what's he supposed to do with this? What is he supposed to? How is he supposed to win with this group? It's impossible. Right now, the Minnesota Twins are on the bottom of the AL Central. Well, that's not true. They're 5-12, and the Chicago White Sox are 4-11. The Minnesota Twins only 5.5 games out of first place. They could turn it around. A lot of season left to play. If there's one thing that the Minnesota Twins organization is selling the players and selling the fans on, is that there's a lot of season left. Because there's 162 games of this. But you're not really selling the fans on it. It could be a perfect baseball day. And still nobody is going to show. Because this is embarrassing. Thank you for watching this episode. Remember to check out 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis for the best bathroom remodel. Hit that subscribe and follow button wherever you're watching or listening. Thank you for going on this podcasting journey with me.